If you lived in Boston, Massachusetts on January 15th, 1919, you would have woken that morning thinking that today would be a day like any other, completely unaware of the 2.3 million gallons of disaster waiting for you just down the street. This is the Boston Molasses Flood. Roughly 2 years prior to the less than infamous day, America had officially joined the Great War, better known as World War I, and as such was in desperate need of munitions, which are typically derived from industrial-grade alcohol. Molasses, when fermented, becomes exactly that, so the governing body of Boston, in collaboration with the U.S. Industrial Alcohol Company, constructed a 50-foot tall tank on Boston's north end with the express purpose of storing the sticky substance. Numerous reports show that as early as day one of the tank's existence, it began to leak profusely. It leaked so much, in fact, that citizens would often make trips to it with bowls in hand so they could catch whatever seeped through its cracks. The city's solution? Paint the tank brown. For the entirety of the tank's 4 years of usage, citizens and workers filling the tank alike would report thunderous and foreboding groaning noises that echoed from its belly. However, their complaints fell on deaf ears. 2 days before the tank's rupture, it was filled. A fresh batch of hot molasses was added for the 8th and final time. Temperatures in Boston reportedly rose from 2 to 41 degrees Fahrenheit the day after the tank's filling. And as the cool molasses at the tank's bottom mixed with the new, fresh, hot batch at its top, the pressure proved too great. Citizens panicked around noon on January 15th as the sound of machine gun fire rattled through the streets of Boston. The rivets had burst from the tank's seams, and a booming crash soon followed as molasses began to flood the streets. 12,000 metric tons of hot, sticky molasses barreled through the streets of Boston, reaching speeds of up to 35 miles per hour. It tore down the Boston Elevated Railway, crashed buildings from their foundations, and trapped between 61 and 171 people, depending on your source, 11 to 21 of whom would ultimately suffocate and die. The rescue process called upon the aid of the Boston Fire and Police Department, members of the Red Cross, as well as the U.S. Army and Naval Forces. It took 4 days for the rescuers to locate all of the victims and 2 weeks for the roughly 300 people to help clean up the mess. In the end, 119 people brought a class action lawsuit against the USIA, who had claimed that the tank's malfunction and subsequent failure was the product of a group of unknown anarchists. They were ultimately forced to pay out $628,000 in damages. The tragedy that was the Boston Molasses Flood is considered a milestone in paving the way for modern-day corporate regulations, and was also one of the largest class action lawsuits in the state of Massachusetts at the time, and it's all the byproduct of 2.3 million gallons of negligence.